Sarah Martinez stepped off the transport truck at Fort Benning, Georgia, her boots hitting the dusty ground with purpose. The morning sun cast long shadows across the training facility, and she could already feel the weight of dozens of eyes watching her every move. At 24 years old, she stood barely 5 feet 4 inches tall, with shoulder-length brown hair pulled back in regulation style and dark eyes that missed nothing. The other candidates were already gathering near the entrance to the sniper school building. 32 men in total, all looking like they had been carved from granite. Sarah counted herself as number 33, and the only woman in the entire program. She had expected this moment, but seeing it in reality still sent a small chill down her spine. Staff Sergeant Williams, a mountain of a man with scars crisscrossing his arms, stepped forward to address the group. His voice carried across the compound like thunder rolling over hills. Welcome to the Army Sniper School, the most demanding precision shooting program in the United States military. Over the next 8 weeks, we will push you beyond your limits. Most of you will fail. Some of you will quit. The few who remain will earn the right to wear the sniper badge. His eyes swept across the assembled candidates, pausing when they reached Sarah. A slight smirk crossed his face. I see we have our first diversity candidate of the year. Martinez, step forward. Sarah's heart pounded, but she kept her expression neutral as she moved to stand in front of the group. She could hear whispers behind her, some crude comments that made her jaw clench. But she had heard worse during her 3 years in the regular infantry. Tell me, Martinez, what makes you think you belong here? This isn't some equal opportunity photo shoot. This is about life and death in combat situations. Sarah met his gaze directly. Sergeant, I qualified expert marksman 3 years running. I have 2 confirmed kills during deployment in Afghanistan with standard infantry weapons. I can hit a target at 800 yards with iron sights. I'm not here because I'm a woman. I'm here because I can shoot. Several of the men behind her laughed. One voice carried clearly over the others. Yeah, right. Probably had help with those quals. Everyone knows they lower the standards for females. Sarah turned to face the speaker, a tall, blond man with arms like tree trunks and confidence written across his face. His name tape read Thompson. Care to make a wager on that, Thompson? Before Thompson could respond, Staff Sergeant Williams stepped between them. Save it for the range, both of you. Right now, everyone grab your gear and follow me to the barracks. You have 30 minutes to stow your equipment and report back here for initial weapons familiarization. The barracks were exactly what Sarah had expected. Rows of narrow bunks in a long open room with concrete floors and minimal privacy. She claimed a bunk near the back corner, hoping to avoid some of the attention she knew would come. As she unpacked her duffel bag, conversations swirled around her. Can you believe they're letting women in now? This whole military is going soft. I give her 3 days before she washes out crying. Probably just here to make some political statement. No way she makes it through the physical requirements. Sarah focused on organizing her gear with military precision. Every item had its place, every piece of equipment positioned for maximum efficiency. She had learned long ago that the best response to doubt was competent action. A shadow fell across her bunk. She looked up to see a stocky Hispanic man with kind eyes extending his hand. Corporal Luis Ramirez. Don't mind the idiots. Half of them won't make it past week 2 anyway. Sarah shook his hand gratefully. Sarah Martinez, thanks. You really hit expert marksman 3 years straight? Every single time. Plus expert pistol and expert grenade. I don't do anything halfway. Ramirez nodded approvingly. Good. You're going to need that attitude. This place eats people alive if they show even a hint of weakness. Over the next hour, Sarah met the rest of the candidates. Most were polite but distant. A few were openly hostile. Thompson seemed to be building a small circle of supporters who shared his views about women in combat roles. But there were also men like Ramirez who seemed willing to judge her based on performance rather than gender. The initial weapons familiarization took place in a sterile classroom with charts covering every wall. Sarah found herself sitting in the front row, partly because she wanted to absorb every detail, and partly because the back rows filled up quickly with men who seemed determined to avoid sitting near her. Instructor Technical Sergeant Davis began the session with an overview of the weapon systems they would be using. The primary sniper rifle was the M24 SWS, a bolt-action system capable of accurate fire beyond 800 yards. They would also train with the M107 Barrett 50 caliber rifle for long-range precision work and the M14 EBR for designated marksman roles. The difference between a regular soldier and a sniper, Davis explained, is not just accuracy. It's patience, discipline, and the ability to make life-and-death decisions under extreme pressure. A sniper often works alone or with a single spotter, sometimes for days at a time, waiting for the perfect shot. Sarah took detailed notes, sketching the rifle components and writing down specifications. She noticed several other candidates doing the same, but many seemed to think they already knew everything they needed to know. Thompson raised his hand. "Sergeant, what's the longest confirmed kill shot in Army history?" Davis smiled slightly. "That would be Staff Sergeant Jim Gilliland, 2,100 yards in Iraq with an M24. But remember, it's not just about distance. Precision, timing, and tactical awareness are what separate elite snipers from lucky shots." After the classroom session, they moved to the weapons vault to handle the actual rifles. Sarah had fired precision weapons before, but never anything as sophisticated as these systems. The M24 felt perfectly balanced in her hands, the smooth bolt action cycling with mechanical precision. "Martinez, you handle that weapon like you know what you're doing." Sarah looked up to find Davis watching her closely. "I've been shooting since I was 8 years old, Sergeant. My father taught me on his hunting rifles in rural Texas." "Show me your natural shooting position." Without hesitation, Sarah dropped into a prone shooting position, settling the rifle against her shoulder and establishing a sight picture through the scope. Her breathing automatically shifted to the slow, controlled rhythm she had learned years ago. Davis made a small note on his clipboard. "Not bad. We'll see how you perform with live rounds tomorrow." That evening in the barracks, Sarah lay on her narrow bunk listening to the conversations around her. Some of the men were sharing stories from their previous military experience. Others were discussing their expectations for the training ahead. But a significant number were still focused on her presence in the program. "I heard they have different standards for women," Thompson was saying to his growing group of followers. "Lower physical requirements, easier shooting qualifications. It's all politics." "My buddy went through Ranger School last year," another voice added. "Said they passed 2 women who couldn't even finish the ruck marches." Sarah closed her eyes and tried to block out the noise. She had heard these same arguments for years. The truth was more complex than the simple narratives these men preferred. Yes, some physical standards were different for women, but shooting accuracy was shooting accuracy. Either you hit the target or you didn't. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "Sarah, accuracy is about more than just steady hands. It's about understanding wind, distance, breathing, and most importantly, understanding yourself." A good shooter knows their limits and works within them. A great shooter constantly pushes those limits higher. The next morning began at 5 o'clock with physical training. Sarah had spent months preparing for this aspect of the program, knowing it would be used to judge her fitness for the role. The morning run covered 6 miles through the Georgia hills, and she finished in the top 10 out of 33 candidates. Not the fastest, but well within acceptable standards. Thompson finished 3rd overall and made sure everyone knew about it. "See that, Martinez? This is what real military fitness looks like. Hope you can keep up when we start the real training." Sarah ignored him and focused on stretching properly to prevent injury. She had learned from 3 years of infantry service that ego was often the enemy of performance. Better to be consistent and reliable than fast and injured. The first live fire exercise took place that afternoon on a basic marksmanship range. Each candidate would fire 10 rounds at targets set at 300 yards using iron sights on M16A4 rifles, standard infantry weapons that everyone should have mastered long before arriving at sniper school. Sarah watched as the first 5 candidates took their turns. The results were mixed. A few shot expert scores, hitting 8 or 9 out of 10 targets. Others struggled with the distance and wind conditions, managing only 5 or 6 hits. Thompson shot 9th out of 10, missing only 1 target by inches. He stood up from the firing line with obvious satisfaction, looking directly at Sarah. "Beat that, diversity candidate." When her turn came, Sarah approached the firing line with calm focus. She had fired thousands of rounds at similar distances during her infantry service. This was familiar territory. She settled into position, established her sight picture, and began the methodical process of precise shooting. The first shot felt perfect the moment it left the barrel. The target 300 yards away showed a clean hit in the center ring. The second shot felt identical. Another center hit. By the 5th shot, she had found that perfect rhythm where rifle, shooter, and target seemed connected by invisible threads. 10 shots, 10 hits, all in the center ring. The range fell completely silent. Even the instructors seemed surprised by the precision of her shooting. Sarah cleared her weapon and stood up, her expression unchanged. Technical Sergeant Davis walked down to check her target personally. He examined it closely, then held it up for the other candidates to see. "This is what expert marksmanship looks like, people. 10 rounds, 10 hits, all within the center scoring area. Martinez, excellent shooting." The silence stretched for several long seconds. Then Ramirez started clapping, and a few other candidates joined in. But Sarah noticed that Thompson and his supporters were notably quiet, their faces showing a mixture of surprise and annoyance. Staff Sergeant Williams stepped forward to address the group. "Today was just the beginning. Iron sights at 300 yards is basic infantry-level shooting. Real sniper work starts tomorrow when we move to precision scopes at longer ranges. The difficulty increases every single day from here on out." That evening, Sarah noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere around her. Some of the candidates who had been openly dismissive were now more reserved. Others seemed genuinely curious about her background and experience, but Thompson's group appeared more determined than ever to prove that her performance was somehow illegitimate. She found Ramirez cleaning his rifle on his bunk nearby. "Good shooting today," he said quietly. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" "South Texas. My father owns a ranch, and coyotes were always going after the livestock. He taught me that every shot had to count because ammunition cost money and missed shots meant dead cattle." Ramirez nodded. "Makes sense. Some of these guys never shot anything but paper targets before joining the Army. They don't understand that shooting is about more than just marksmanship scores. What about you?" "East LA, did 3 tours in Iraq as regular infantry. Saw enough good soldiers die because of bad shooting. That's why I'm here. Want to make sure when I pull the trigger, the right person goes down." Over the following days, the training intensity increased dramatically. They learned advanced ballistics, studying how wind, temperature, humidity, and elevation affected bullet trajectory. They practiced reading environmental conditions, using mil-dot scopes for range estimation, and maintaining weapons in field conditions. Sarah excelled in the classroom work, but she noticed that several other candidates were equally skilled. The academic side of sniper training was demanding, requiring mathematical precision and scientific understanding of ballistics principles. Thompson, despite his earlier hostility, proved to be surprisingly competent in these areas. The real differences began to show on the longer-range shooting exercises. At 500 yards, the margin for error became much smaller. At 700 yards, minor mistakes became major misses. At 800 yards and beyond, only the most skilled shooters could consistently hit their targets. Sarah found herself in a small group of candidates who seemed to have natural aptitude for long-range precision work. Besides herself, this group included Thompson, Ramirez, a quiet man named Jackson from North Carolina, and a former Marine named Peterson who rarely spoke but shot with mechanical consistency. The instructors began paying closer attention to this group, providing additional coaching and more challenging exercises. Sarah appreciated the extra attention, but she also noticed that it made her more visible to the candidates who were struggling. One evening, after a particularly difficult shooting exercise, she overheard a conversation in the latrine area. "It's not fair that she gets all that extra help from the instructors. They're probably going easy on her because of the political pressure." "Yeah, and did you see how they set up her shooting position today? I swear they gave her a better spot with less wind." Sarah wanted to defend herself, to point out that she had earned her position through consistent performance. But she had learned from experience that arguing often made situations worse. Better to let her shooting speak for itself. The breakthrough moment came during week 3, during a stress shooting exercise designed to simulate combat conditions. Each candidate had to navigate an obstacle course while carrying full combat gear, then immediately transition to precision shooting at multiple targets at varying distances. The physical exertion was designed to elevate heart rate and breathing, making accurate shooting much more difficult. Many candidates found their accuracy degraded significantly under these conditions. Sarah approached the exercise with a strategy she had developed during her infantry service. Instead of rushing through the obstacle course, she paced herself to maintain controlled breathing. When she reached the shooting position, she took an extra few seconds to settle her heart rate before engaging the first target. 5 targets, distances from 400 to 800 yards, time limit of 10 minutes including obstacle course completion. Her first shot at 400 yards was a clean hit. The second target at 500 yards took 2 shots, the first missing slightly left due to wind. The third target at 600 yards required careful calculation of holdover, but her shot found its mark. The fourth target at 700 yards was the most challenging, requiring both elevation and windage adjustments. Her shot hit just outside the center ring, but well within acceptable accuracy standards. The final target sat at 800 yards, the maximum range for the exercise. Sarah had practiced at this distance for weeks, but never under stress conditions with elevated heart rate and time pressure. She had less than 2 minutes remaining. She settled into position, controlled her breathing, calculated the environmental factors, and squeezed the trigger with smooth, steady pressure. The spotting scope confirmed a direct hit in the center ring. When the exercise concluded, Sarah had achieved the highest score of the day, completing all 5 targets with only 1 shot required for 4 of them. Her time was also respectable, showing she hadn't sacrificed speed for accuracy. Technical Sergeant Davis announced the results to the assembled candidates. "Today's exercise winner is Martinez. Perfect score, excellent time, and the only candidate to hit the 800-yard target on the first shot under stress conditions." The silence was different this time. Instead of surprise, there was a growing sense of respect from most of the candidates. Even some of Thompson's supporters seemed impressed despite themselves. But Thompson himself was visibly angry. He had finished 4th overall, missing 2 targets completely. After the formal debrief, he approached Sarah directly. "You got lucky today. That 800-yard shot was pure chance." Sarah looked at him calmly. "Thompson, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. I've been preparing for shots like that my entire life. We'll see how lucky you are when we get to the real tests. This basic marksmanship stuff is easy. Wait until we start doing actual sniper missions." Sarah didn't respond, but Ramirez stepped up beside her. "Thompson, maybe focus on your own shooting instead of worrying about hers. You missed an easy 500-yard shot today." Thompson's face flushed red. "Stay out of this, Ramirez. This is between me and the diversity candidate here." The confrontation was interrupted by Staff Sergeant Williams, who had been watching from nearby. Thompson, Martinez, Ramirez. All of you focus on training instead of personal conflicts. Save your competitive energy for the shooting ranges. We've got 4 more weeks of increasingly difficult challenges ahead. That night, Sarah lay in her bunk, reflecting on the day's events. She was proving herself through performance exactly as she had planned, but she was also realizing that some people would never accept her presence regardless of how well she shot. More importantly, she was beginning to understand what separated good shooters from exceptional ones. It wasn't just accuracy or consistency, it was the ability to perform under pressure, to maintain focus when everything around you was designed to create distraction and stress. The real tests were still coming, and Sarah was determined to be ready for whatever challenges the instructors could devise. She had come too far and worked too hard to let anyone else's opinions determine her fate in this program. Week 4 brought field exercises designed to test more than just shooting accuracy. The candidates were divided into teams of 2, with one acting as sniper and the other as spotter. The partnerships would rotate, giving everyone experience in both roles. Sarah found herself paired with Jackson for the first exercise. The quiet man from North Carolina had proven to be an excellent shooter, but he was even better as a spotter. His ability to read wind conditions and calculate range adjustments was almost supernatural. "You shoot left-handed," Jackson observed as they set up their position for a long-range reconnaissance exercise. "Most people don't notice that." Sarah adjusted her grip on the M24 rifle. "My father is left-handed too. He taught me to shoot from my natural side instead of forcing me to adapt to right-handed weapons." "Smart. Gives you better eye dominance for precision work." Their target was a simulated enemy observation post located 1,500 yards across a valley. The mission was to observe enemy movement patterns for 4 hours, then eliminate specific high-value targets when they appeared. The exercise required patience, camouflage discipline, and precise shooting under realistic field conditions. They had spent 2 hours constructing their hide site, carefully arranging vegetation and fabric to blend with the surrounding terrain. Sarah wore full ghillie suit camouflage, the specialized clothing that broke up human outline and allowed snipers to remain invisible in natural environments. The temperature was climbing toward 90 degrees, and the humidity made every breath feel thick and heavy. Sweat pooled under her camouflage, but moving to wipe it away would compromise their concealment. "Target spotted," Jackson whispered, his voice barely audible, even though Sarah was lying just 2 feet away. "Adult male, military uniform, carrying radio equipment. Range is 1,400 yards. Wind is light, 3 to 5 miles per hour from right to left." Sarah adjusted her scope and acquired the target through the magnified optics. The man was clearly visible, walking along a predetermined route that would bring him to a position for optimal shot placement. "Target acquired. Clear shot in approximately 30 seconds when he reaches the wooden post marker." Jackson continued his calculations. "Elevation adjustment 4 clicks up. Windage 1 click left. Temperature is 92 degrees. Humidity 70%. Bullet drop compensation is 5.2 inches at this range." Sarah made the scope adjustments and settled into her final shooting position. Her breathing slowed to the deep, controlled rhythm that preceded every precision shot. The target continued his movement toward the optimal position. "Target is in position. Clear shot. Send it." The rifle recoiled smoothly against Sarah's shoulder. Through the scope, she watched the target drop immediately, the simulated ammunition having found its mark precisely where intended. The shot had traveled nearly 1,500 yards and struck within inches of the aiming point. "Perfect hit," Jackson confirmed through his spotting scope. "Center mass impact. Target down." Over the next 2 hours, they engaged 4 more targets at ranges from 800 to 1,600 yards. Sarah's shooting was flawless, with Jackson providing spotting support that bordered on artistic in its precision. When the exercise concluded, the instructors evaluated each team's performance based on concealment, target identification accuracy, and shooting results. Sarah and Jackson achieved the highest score in their group, with perfect target engagement and no detection by opposing forces. But the real test came when Sarah took her turn as spotter for other shooters. Spotting required different skills than shooting. A good spotter had to read environmental conditions, calculate range and trajectory, communicate clearly under pressure, and most importantly, protect the sniper from threats they might not see while focused through their scope. Sarah was paired with Peterson, the former Marine who shot with mechanical consistency, but struggled with environmental calculations. His military experience made him an excellent tactical partner, but his mathematical skills needed support. Their mission involved neutralizing targets in an urban environment simulation. The shooting positions were from building rooftops, engaging targets in windows and doorways of structures up to 1,200 yards away. Peterson, target in the third building, second floor, left window, adult male with weapon. Range is approximately 900 yards. Peterson settled behind his rifle and acquired the target through his scope. I have him. What's my dope? Sarah calculated quickly, factoring in the crosswind blowing between the buildings, the elevation difference between their position and the target, and the temperature effects on bullet trajectory. Elevation up 6 clicks, windage right 2 clicks, hold for moving target if he shifts position. Peterson made the adjustments and prepared for the shot, but just as he was about to fire, Sarah noticed movement in a window 1 building over. Wait, hold fire. I have a second target in building 4. Third floor. Appears to be observing our position. He might have spotted us. Peterson immediately shifted his aim to acquire the new target. This was exactly the kind of tactical decision-making that separated experienced snipers from mere marksmen. The ability to prioritize threats and adapt to changing situations was crucial in real combat. New target acquired. Range is 1,100 yards. Give me dope for the longer shot. Sarah recalculated for the increased distance. Elevation up 8 clicks from your previous setting. Windage right 1 additional click. Target is stationary. Peterson's shot was perfect, striking the simulated enemy observer before he could report their position. They then returned to the original target, which Peterson eliminated with his second shot of the engagement. Excellent teamwork, Technical Sergeant Davis commented during the after-action review. Martinez, your spotting calculations were precise, and your threat assessment potentially saved the mission. Peterson, good flexibility in target prioritization. Word of Sarah's performance was spreading throughout the training cadre. She was proving to be not just an excellent shooter, but also a skilled spotter and tactical thinker. These were the qualities that defined elite snipers rather than just accurate marksmen. Thompson, however, was having a more difficult time with the advanced training. His individual shooting remained strong, but he struggled with teamwork and communication. During his turn as a spotter, he missed critical wind changes that caused his partner to miss 2 consecutive shots. When he was shooting, he sometimes ignored spotters' corrections and relied too heavily on his own judgment. The tension came to a head during Week 5, during a night shooting exercise. Each candidate had to engage targets using night vision equipment and infrared targeting devices. The technology was sophisticated, but it required different skills than daylight shooting. Sarah was paired with Ramirez for this exercise. They had worked together several times and developed excellent communication. The mission involved eliminating sentries around a simulated enemy compound, then holding overwatch positions while other teams conducted mock rescue operations. The night was moonless and humid, with thick cloud cover that made natural light minimal. Through her night vision scope, Sarah could see the green-tinted world that modern snipers operated in during nocturnal missions. First target is at the main gate, Ramirez whispered. Adult male, walking patrol pattern. Range is 600 yards. He'll be in optimal position in 45 seconds. Sarah tracked the target through her scope, noting his movement pattern and timing. Night shooting required different calculations because temperature variations affected bullet trajectory differently, and range estimation was more challenging without natural light references. Target acquired. I have a clear shot when he reaches the corner of the building. Ramirez continued his observation. Wind is calm. Temperature dropped to 78 degrees, standard hold for this range. The shot felt perfect when Sarah squeezed the trigger. The suppressed rifle produced only a soft whisper, and the target dropped immediately. 1 down, 3 more to go. Over the next 20 minutes, they systematically eliminated the remaining sentries. Each shot required patience and precision, with Sarah waiting for optimal positioning and clear backgrounds to prevent detection by other enemies. But the real test came when one of the other sniper teams triggered an alarm during their approach to the compound. Suddenly, the exercise shifted from methodical elimination to rapid target engagement under time pressure. Multiple targets moving in the compound, Ramirez reported urgently. I count at least 6 armed individuals taking defensive positions. They're looking for sniper positions. Sarah scanned through her scope, identifying priority targets based on their weapons and positions. 2 enemies had moved to elevated positions where they could observe potential sniper hides. They needed to be eliminated first. I have the target on the left tower. Range is 800 yards. Moving target. This was the most challenging type of shot: long range, limited light, moving target, and time pressure. Sarah tracked the enemy as he moved along the tower platform, calculating his speed and direction. The shot timing had to be perfect. Too early, and she would miss behind the target. Too late, and he might spot their muzzle flash. Sarah led the target slightly, accounting for his movement, and fired. The target dropped immediately. Ramirez had already identified the second tower guard. Right tower target is down 2. Peterson got him from the alternate position. Compound is clear for friendly movement. The exercise concluded with complete success. All primary targets eliminated, no friendly casualties, and no detection of sniper positions. Sarah had fired 6 shots during the exercise and achieved 6 hits, including the challenging moving target engagement. During the debrief, Staff Sergeant Williams addressed the entire class. Tonight demonstrated the difference between basic marksmanship and operational sniper skills. Some teams adapted well to changing circumstances and time pressure. Others struggled when the situation became dynamic. He looked directly at Thompson, whose team had failed to engage 2 of their assigned targets and had been detected by opposing forces. Thompson, your shooting accuracy remains excellent, but you need to improve communication with your spotter and adaptability under pressure. Sniper teams succeed or fail based on teamwork. Thompson's jaw tightened. After the formal debrief, he confronted Sarah outside the barracks. You think you're hot stuff because you got lucky on a few shots. Wait until we get to the real evaluation. That's when we'll see who belongs here and who's just here for political reasons. Sarah had finally had enough of his attitude. Thompson, I've outshot you in every exercise for 3 weeks. My scores are higher, my spotting is more accurate, and my tactical decision-making is better. This isn't about luck or politics. This is about performance. Bullshit. The instructors are going easy on you because you're a woman. Everyone knows it. Ramirez stepped between them. Thompson, man, just stop. She's earned everything she's gotten here. Maybe instead of complaining, you should focus on improving your own performance. Stay out of this, Ramirez. This is about maintaining standards. No, Sarah said firmly. This is about your ego. You can't handle the fact that a woman is outperforming you, so you're looking for excuses instead of improving your skills. Thompson stepped closer, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. You want to settle this? Fine. Let's make a real wager. Final evaluation exercise next week. Loser transfers out of the program voluntarily. Sarah didn't hesitate. You're on. But when I beat you, I don't want to hear another word about politics or gender. Deal?" Thompson smiled coldly. "Deal. We'll see who the real sniper is." The final evaluation was designed to test every skill the candidates had learned during their 8 weeks of training. It combined long-range precision shooting, field craft, tactical decision-making, and physical endurance into a comprehensive assessment that would determine who graduated from the program. 22 candidates remained from the original 33. 11 had voluntarily withdrawn, and 2 had been removed for failing to meet minimum standards. The survivors were the best shooters and most dedicated soldiers from the original group. The evaluation scenario was a simulated hostage rescue operation. Each candidate would work with an assigned spotter to infiltrate enemy territory, conduct reconnaissance, and eliminate specific high-value targets to enable a rescue operation. The mission would last 36 hours and cover over 20 miles of rough terrain. Sarah was paired with Jackson again, their proven teamwork making them a natural choice for the demanding final assessment. They would be responsible for neutralizing enemy sentries and overwatch positions around a mock compound where hostages were being held. The weather forecast called for rain, wind, and temperature fluctuations that would challenge even experienced snipers. Environmental conditions would change throughout the mission, requiring constant adaptation and recalculation. Thompson was paired with one of his supporters, a capable shooter named Williams, who shared his views about women in combat roles. Their assigned targets were in the same general area as Sarah's, setting up a direct comparison of performance under identical conditions. "This is it," Jackson said as they prepared their equipment for insertion. "Everything we've learned for 8 weeks comes down to the next 36 hours. Sarah checked her rifle for the final time, ensuring every component was properly maintained and calibrated. The M24 had become like an extension of her body over the weeks of training. She knew exactly how it would respond under any conditions they might encounter. "Jackson, we've worked well together all program. Let's finish strong." They moved out at dawn, beginning the long approach march to their objective area. The route would take them through dense forest, across open fields, and finally into hilly terrain overlooking the target compound. 4 hours into the movement, the first challenge appeared. A simulated enemy patrol was moving through their planned route, forcing them to either find an alternate path or eliminate the threat without compromising their mission. Sarah and Jackson observed the patrol from concealment, counting 5 enemy soldiers with light weapons. The patrol was following a predictable pattern, but engaging them would require precision shooting at moderate range with quick target engagement. "We can take them," Sarah whispered, "but we need to get all 5 before any of them can radio for help." Jackson nodded. "I'll spot for the first 3 targets, then shift to backup shooting if needed. Ranges are between 300 and 500 yards. Sarah settled into position behind her rifle. The first target was Walking Point, clearly visible at 400 yards. The second and third targets were close together, requiring rapid follow-up shots. The fourth and fifth targets were trailing the formation by about 50 yards. "First target, 400 yards, clear shot." Sarah's rifle whispered through its suppressor. The point man dropped immediately. She cycled the bolt and acquired the second target before the others realized what was happening. "Second target, same range, moving left." Another perfect shot. The second enemy soldier fell. By now, the remaining 3 had recognized they were under attack and were seeking cover. "Third target behind the tree, 350 yards. Small window of opportunity when he moves." Sarah waited patiently for the target to expose himself. When he leaned out to look for the sniper position, her bullet was waiting for him. Jackson had already shifted to his backup rifle and was engaging the fourth target. "Fourth target down. You take the last one." The fifth target was running for better cover, making him a challenging moving target at long range. Sarah led him appropriately and squeezed the trigger just as he dove behind a fallen log. The target didn't get up. "All 5 down. Excellent shooting. Let's move before anyone comes looking for this patrol. They continued their approach to the target compound, making good time through the difficult terrain. By late afternoon, they had reached their final overwatch position on a hill 1,500 yards from the objective. Through their scopes, they could see Thompson and Williams setting up their position on a parallel ridgeline. The final phase of the evaluation was about to begin, and Sarah was determined to prove once and for all that she belonged among the Army's elite snipers. The final phase of the evaluation began at dusk. Sarah and Jackson had spent 4 hours observing the target compound, mapping enemy positions and movement patterns. The mock hostage situation was designed to test decision-making under pressure, with civilian safety as the top priority. Through her scope, Sarah counted 12 enemy combatants in defensive positions around the compound. Some were static sentries, others moved in patrol patterns. The rescued hostages would be extracted from the central building, but only after sniper teams eliminated specific threats that could endanger the rescue force. Thompson and Williams were visible on their ridgeline, approximately 800 yards to the east. Their position gave them different angles on some targets, creating both opportunities for coordination and potential conflicts over target priority. The mission brief specified that we need to eliminate the tower sentries first, Jackson whispered, studying the compound through his spotting scope. Then the roving patrols, and finally provide overwatch during the actual extraction. Sarah tracked her scope across the target area, identifying the priority threats. 2 guards in elevated positions had clear fields of fire across the approach routes. They would die first. Left tower sentry, range 1,400 yards. Right tower sentry, range 1,500 yards. Both are stationary with good visibility. The range was at the limit of what most snipers could handle reliably, especially in deteriorating light conditions. But Sarah had been hitting targets at these distances consistently throughout the program. Jackson calculated the environmental factors. Wind is picking up 8 to 12 miles per hour from southwest. Temperature dropping to 68 degrees. Humidity at 80% with light rain starting. The weather was making conditions more difficult by the minute. Rain would affect bullet trajectory and scope clarity. Wind would push bullets off course if not properly calculated. Temperature changes would alter the ballistics throughout the engagement. I'll take the left tower first, then transition to the right tower. Time between shots needs to be minimal to prevent the second sentry from taking cover. Sarah settled into her final shooting position, adjusting her body to maintain stability for multiple rapid shots. The rifle felt perfectly balanced against her shoulder, the scope providing crystal-clear magnification despite the gathering darkness. The first shot traveled 1,400 yards in just under 2 seconds, striking the left tower sentry in the center of mass. Sarah immediately cycled the bolt and acquired the second target, adjusting her aim point for the additional 100 yards of distance and the crosswind. The second shot was equally precise. Both tower sentries were eliminated within 15 seconds, opening the primary approach route for the rescue force. "Excellent shooting," Jackson confirmed through his spotting scope. "Both targets down. Thompson's team just engaged the Eastern Patrol. Their first shot missed." Sarah could see muzzle flashes from Thompson's position as he attempted to engage a moving target at extreme range. His second shot was also a miss, and the target took cover behind a building. "Command is calling for immediate engagement of all remaining static positions," Jackson reported, monitoring the radio communications. "The missed shots have alerted the enemy. We need to take down the remaining sentries before they reorganize." This was exactly the kind of pressure situation that separated elite snipers from ordinary marksmen. Multiple targets, time constraints, and an enemy force that was now aware they were under attack. Sarah identified 4 remaining sentries in static positions around the compound perimeter. Ranges varied from 800 to 1,600 yards, and all targets were now more alert and taking partial cover. The third shot of the engagement was at a sentry crouched behind a low wall at 1,200 yards. Only his head and shoulders were visible, requiring precise shot placement. Sarah's bullet found its mark exactly where intended. The fourth target was moving between buildings, appearing briefly in windows and doorways. This required timing and prediction, anticipating where the target would be when the bullet arrived after its 2-second flight time. Sarah tracked the target's movement pattern through her scope, identifying a window where he would pause to observe the compound. When he appeared in the predicted location, her shot was waiting for him. Targets 5 and 6 were the most challenging. Both were at extreme range, partially concealed, and actively looking for sniper positions. The slightest mistake would result in missed shots and compromised positions. Range to target 5 is 1,580 yards, Jackson calculated. Wind is gusting to 15 miles per hour. Target 6 is at 1,610 yards, similar conditions. These were the longest shots Sarah had attempted under combat conditions, even simulated ones. The margin for error was minimal, and the environmental factors were constantly changing. She controlled her breathing, calculated the ballistic trajectory, and squeezed the trigger with perfect technique. The bullet arced through the rainy evening air, dropping nearly 6 feet over its trajectory before striking target 5, precisely in the center of mass. Target 6 required an even more difficult shot. The sentry was using a concrete barrier for cover, exposing only small portions of his body at irregular intervals. Sarah had to time her shot for a brief moment when enough target was visible for a killing shot. She waited patiently, watching the target's behavior pattern through her scope. Every few minutes, he would lean out to observe a specific section of the compound perimeter. The exposure lasted only 3 to 4 seconds, barely enough time to acquire the target and fire. When the moment came, Sarah was ready. Her shot struck the target just as he leaned into view, the bullet covering 1,600 yards in slightly over 2 seconds to arrive exactly when and where it needed to be. All static targets eliminated, Jackson confirmed. Outstanding shooting, 6 targets, 6 hits. Ranges from 800 to 1,600 yards under deteriorating conditions. But the mission wasn't finished. The extraction phase required overwatch support as friendly forces moved through the compound to rescue the hostages. This meant protecting the rescue team from any remaining threats while they completed their objective. Thompson's team was still struggling with their assignments. Through her scope, Sarah could see them attempting to engage the mobile patrol that had taken cover after their initial missed shots. They were firing repeatedly, but achieving no hits, and their muzzle flashes were revealing their position to enemy forces. "Thompson's in trouble," Jackson observed. "The patrol they missed has identified their position and is maneuvering to flank them." The tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. If Thompson's team was compromised, they couldn't provide their assigned overwatch support. The entire mission could fail because of their inability to eliminate their assigned targets. Sarah made a command decision that went beyond her specific mission parameters. "Jackson, give me ranges to the patrol threatening Thompson's position. 3 targets, ranges from 1,100 to 1,300 yards. They're using covering fire and movement to advance on Thompson's hide site." This wasn't Sarah's assigned responsibility, but allowing another sniper team to be overrun would compromise the entire operation. More importantly, despite their conflicts, Thompson and Williams were fellow soldiers who needed help. Sarah engaged the flanking patrol with rapid precision shooting that demonstrated the absolute pinnacle of sniper skills. 3 targets, 3 shots, 3 kills at long range while they were using tactical movement. The threats to Thompson's position were eliminated before they could complete their flanking maneuver. "Command, this is Overwatch 2, Jackson radioed. "All assigned targets eliminated. Also neutralize threats to Overwatch 1 position. Ready to provide extraction support." The rescue phase proceeded flawlessly. Sarah and Jackson provided covering fire as friendly forces moved through the compound, eliminated 2 additional targets that appeared during the extraction, and maintained overwatch until all hostages were safely evacuated. When the exercise concluded, the results were unmistakable. Sarah had achieved perfect target engagement, eliminated additional threats beyond her assigned missions, and demonstrated tactical flexibility under pressure. Her shooting accuracy, communication skills, and decision-making had been flawless throughout the 36-hour evaluation. Thompson's team had struggled throughout the exercise, missing multiple shots and requiring assistance to complete their assigned mission. The contrast in performance was obvious to everyone involved. During the final debrief, Staff Sergeant Williams addressed the assembled candidates and instructors. This evaluation tested everything we've taught you over 8 weeks of intensive training. Some of you performed at the level we expect from elite Army snipers. Others showed that additional training would be beneficial before graduation. He consulted his notes before continuing. Martinez, your performance during this evaluation was exceptional. 12 targets engaged at ranges up to 1,600 yards, 12 hits, 0 misses. Additionally, you demonstrated tactical initiative by engaging threats outside your assigned area of responsibility to protect fellow soldiers. Sarah maintained her military bearing, but inside she felt a surge of satisfaction. 8 weeks of doubt, skepticism, and challenges had led to this moment of clear vindication. Williams continued the debrief. Thompson, your team struggled with target engagement and communication throughout the exercise. Multiple missed shots, compromised position security, and failure to complete assigned missions without assistance. Thompson's face was red with embarrassment and anger. The wager he had insisted upon was now clearly decided. After the formal debrief, Technical Sergeant Davis approached Sarah privately. Martinez, I need to ask you something that's been puzzling me throughout this program. Your shooting skills and tactical knowledge are far more advanced than what I would expect from someone with standard infantry experience. Sarah had been dreading this conversation, but she knew it was inevitable. Sergeant, my service record shows 2 confirmed kills during my deployment in Afghanistan. What it doesn't show is that those kills were made with an M4 rifle at ranges exceeding 600 yards using iron sights. Davis raised his eyebrows. That's exceptional marksmanship for standard infantry weapons. There's more, Sergeant. During that same deployment, I was attached to a Special Forces unit for 6 weeks when their sniper was wounded. I made 11 additional confirmed kills using their precision weapons systems. Davis was silent for a long moment. 13 confirmed kills with precision shooting. Why isn't this documented in your records? The Special Forces attachment was classified, and they didn't want to create paperwork that might compromise operational security. I was told my contributions would be noted in other ways, but nothing ever appeared in my official record. Martinez, 13 confirmed kills would place you among the most experienced combat snipers in the Army. You came to this school as a proven expert, not a student. Sarah nodded. I wanted to earn my sniper qualification through official channels instead of relying on informal recognition. I needed the credentials and training that only this program could provide. Davis shook his head in amazement. You've been outperforming instructors with decades of experience, and now I understand why. You didn't just pass this course, Martinez. You could probably teach it. Word of Sarah's background spread quickly among the remaining candidates. The woman they had dismissed as a political gesture was actually one of the most combat-experienced snipers any of them had ever met. Thompson approached her that evening, his earlier hostility replaced by grudging respect. Martinez, I owe you an apology, and I owe you my life. If you hadn't taken out that patrol today, Williams and I would have been overrun. Sarah extended her hand. Thompson, we're all soldiers here. Politics and personal feelings don't matter when people are in danger. Thompson shook her hand firmly. I was wrong about you, about women in combat roles. You're a better sniper than most men I've served with. I'm just a good soldier who happens to be a woman. There's no conflict between those things. The graduation ceremony took place 3 days later. 18 candidates successfully completed the program and earned the right to wear the sniper badge. Sarah graduated first in her class with the highest scores in marksmanship, fieldcraft, and tactical knowledge. Staff Sergeant Williams presented her graduation certificate and sniper badge in front of the assembled candidates and instructors. Martinez, you have demonstrated the highest standards of precision shooting, tactical excellence, and military bearing. You represent the best traditions of the Army sniper community. As Sarah received her badge, she thought about the long journey that had brought her to this moment. 8 weeks of proving herself, years of developing her skills, and a lifetime of refusing to accept limitations that others tried to impose upon her. But the most significant moment came when she returned to her rifle to prepare it for transport. Using a small knife, she carefully carved 13 small marks into the wooden stock just below the scope mount. Jackson watched her work and understood immediately. 13 confirmed kills. That's why you shoot like you do. Sarah finished the final mark and looked up at him. These marks represent lives taken in service to our country. Every sniper carries that responsibility. The badge and graduation are important. But these marks remind me why this training matters. Ramirez joined them as Sarah completed her markings. 13 kills with precision weapons. Martinez, you're not just a graduate of sniper school. You're a combat veteran who earned her place here through blood and sacrifice. Word spread through the group as other candidates saw the marks on Sarah's rifle. 13 small notches that represented 13 enemy combatants eliminated in actual combat situations. More confirmed kills than some snipers achieved in entire careers. Thompson stared at the marked rifle in amazement. You had 13 confirmed kills before you even came here? Why didn't you tell anyone? Sarah slung the rifle over her shoulder. Because I didn't come here to impress anyone with my past. I came here to earn my qualification through proper channels and improve my skills through professional training. But everyone thought you were just a diversity candidate trying to prove a point. Sarah smiled slightly. Everyone was wrong. I'm a combat-proven sniper who happened to be born female. The Army needs the best qualified soldiers in every position, regardless of gender. Technical Sergeant Davis appeared beside the group. Martinez, you've been assigned to Fort Campbell with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. They specifically requested a sniper with your qualifications and experience. Sarah felt a surge of excitement. The 160th was the Army's premier Special Operations Aviation Unit, supporting the most elite ground forces in the military. Assignment there meant she would be working with the best soldiers the Army had to offer. Sergeant, I'm honored by the assignment. Martinez, you earned it through exceptional performance and proven combat experience. The 160th specifically requested a sniper who could operate at the highest levels of special operations. As the candidates prepared to leave Fort Benning, Sarah reflected on the transformation that had occurred over 8 weeks. She had arrived as a capable soldier with hidden experience, facing skepticism and doubt from her peers. She was leaving as a recognized expert whose skills were respected throughout the sniper community. The 13 marks on her rifle represented more than confirmed kills. They represented her commitment to excellence, her willingness to serve in dangerous situations, and her determination to prove that competence was the only standard that mattered. Thompson approached her for the final time as they loaded their equipment for departure. Martinez, I learned something important during this program. I was so focused on gender that I missed the obvious truth about you. Sarah paused in her packing. What truth is that? You're not a female sniper. You're just a sniper who happens to be female. There's a big difference, and it took me 8 weeks to understand it. Sarah smiled and extended her hand one final time. Thompson, That might be the smartest thing anyone has said during this entire program. As the transport vehicles departed Fort Benning, Sarah looked back at the facility where she had proven herself beyond any doubt. The shooting ranges, barracks, and training areas had witnessed her transformation from a capable soldier to an elite sniper. The 13 marks on her rifle would always remind her of the responsibilities that came with her specialized skills. But her graduation from sniper school represented something equally important. Proof that excellence was the only standard that truly mattered in military service. The doubters had been silenced, not through arguments or politics, but through undeniable demonstration of superior skills. Sarah Martinez had earned her place among the Army's elite snipers through the same standard that applied to everyone else: superior performance under the most demanding conditions.